Sure. We're going to talk about Kartini in the modern day. If you're wondering, what is that? I don't know either. Scott will explain because he is the moderator. So Scott Spirit, can you please take your stage up front here? A round of applause for Scott Bieber. Sorry, Scott Spirit. And we have a very distinguished panel, all female. Oh, this one is not. I mean, yes. And so I'm going to call up Anthea Webb, the Director of World Food Program. Can you please come up to the stage? And we also have the Solehat herself, Creative Director, Fashion Program and Content Creator, Dian Pelangi. So if I want to do Solehat, I have to do that, yeah? Be really, really modest. Okay. And Sri Widowati, Facebook Head of Indonesia. Round of applause for Mbak Widow. Mbak Widow has consistently looked like this for the past, I don't know, she's like Highlander. That's a compliment, Mbak. I mean, seriously. And next we have Mbak Sasa Yusari Yahya, Head of Public Affairs, Danamon. Okay, Spirit, I'm gonna leave it up to you. You want my mic? Oh, okay.
There's a mic here.
We're going to share.
Okay.
All right, we're good.
Plenty of mic?
We're good.
Do
I
you
won't
need
steal
mic?
your mic.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome everybody. I got an education over lunchtime about who Kartini was. I'm ashamed to say I wasn't aware of this national hero of Indonesia. And so obviously yesterday was a very auspicious day. It was Kartini Day. It was also a very auspicious day in my home country. It was the birthday of Queen Elizabeth, the 90th birthday, who's a very powerful and inspirational woman where I'm from. So it was a doubly auspicious day. And we have an awesome panel today, so I'm really looking forward to talking to you all. I am going to open it up for questions, so if anything we say spurs a question, or if you're thinking about stuff now, bear it in mind, and I'll certainly open it up later on. So I'm going to start going around each of you, and maybe you can just sort of introduce yourself and tell a little bit to the audience about your background and your role, and how you've come to be so successful. So let's start over there with Zaza. I believe you've had 3 careers. You're a professional. You're an athlete, a swimmer, then in media, and now obviously in the past few years in banking. So you've succeeded 3 times instead of 1. But please tell us a bit more.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to be here. Thank you, Ranjana, for inviting me. And like Scott said, I was an athlete before. I was a swimmer. All my family, we have 5 girls and 1 boy in the family, and we were all swimmers. That's when my parents started to teach in us that women will just have the same chance as any boy in sports. And we become quite national swimmers, and from there I got scholarship to study abroad. So from a young age, we are already exposed and taught that when you set your mind on it, you can achieve something in your life that will give you a better future. And I guess that's the foundations that I was brought up in. And in my professional life, I'm lucky enough to be in 2 industries. I was in the broadcasting TV industry when it was just started in Indonesia. And I noticed that when the opportunity opened, there were a lot of women who entered the broadcasting business from the creative side, from the sales and marketing side, and also from the journalism side. So it was a really good opportunity for women to show their talent and career in broadcasting. And now, after it's about 20 years, I think the Indonesian broadcasting started. We see a lot of CEO women in TV who become a very high decision maker in the industry. So that's the good news. And also becomes a model for the young women to have a career in broadcasting. We see a lot of journalists who are women who are very successful, presenters, and also from the business side. And then I moved to banking. Don't ask me why. But I got a second chance to start into another industry. And I observed the same thing in banking, that it's banking known as the most conservative, right? Very stouch and prudent men in ties and suits. But in Indonesia, fortunately, there's a lot of career bankers who are very successful women. We have Sri Mulyani in World Bank, yeah, and we have a lot of women CEO, CFO in bankings. When the banking industry became deregulated, there were a lot of new banks open, and somehow women excel also in banking and receive the recognitions that women deserve. So I'm lucky in that sense, but I know that not very many Indonesian women have the same opportunity as I am. As you know, we still have the Ministry of Women Empowerment. So I guess it shows that there's still lacking there, that we need a special ministry to empower women. So I guess there's a lot of homework that we still need to do. Thank you.
So Dian, you tell us a little bit more. I believe you took on the family business and are now a very successful entrepreneur here, both in the business world as a designer and running the company, but also in the social media world where you are one of Indonesia's top Instagram celebrities. So please tell us more about that.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Dian Pelangi, can call me Dian. I'm a fashion designer, especially on modest fashion, and I'm the designer from the label and the CEO as well for the label Dian Pelangi. So basically Dian Pelangi is a family business. It's established by my parents around 25 years ago, and then I just continued the business around 8 years ago. Formerly, it's only focused on like a conventional outfit, not focusing to the modest fashion. But right now, from the past 8 years, right now Dian Pelangi focusing more to the modest fashion wear, like Muslim wear, something like that. But we have our own characteristic, we have our own personality, we make it as universal as possible, so it's not only the hijab or the Muslim wear only can wear it, but also those who without a headscarf still can wear our products as well. And the power in our brands, one of the power is because of the social media or the internet as well. Because from 8 years ago, we start to promoting a label online, like from the social media, from Facebook, from Instagram, Twitter, something like that. So from there, we gain more popularity, and then we also known in worldwide, not only Indonesia. From there, we also get a lot of offer to show our collection worldwide in the US, in the UK, in the Middle East. So we can also grab the market in there as well. And then on 2010 as well, me and some of my friends launched a community named Hijabers Community. Maybe some of you know about that community. So the community is focusing more to empower and collaborate more with the women with headscarf, because sometimes people who wear headscarf, sometimes they still afraid to wear it, or they feel that they're alone because they're different from another. But in Hijabers community, we empower each other, we inspire, and then we give, we teach them not only about fashion, but also lifestyle, like healthy food or halal food, and then healthy lifestyle. And then we share about anything, like from the makeup things, and then the cooking things, and then also maybe like Islamic banks, Islamic finance, something like that. So we share about a lot of things. And for right now, I am still focusing with Dian Pelangi. I have campaign for this year. For right now, we interest more to empower the youngsters, especially we care about the fashion education right now. So in the Dian Pelangi, we have programs to visit some vocational school, as you know, SMK, Sekolah Menengah Kejuruan. We visit SMK, vocational school, and then we give encouragement, something like that, so they can take part as well for the fashion generation in the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So we had a little advert for Facebook now. Now we can move on to Facebook. So you had a career in, I guess, FMCG before, and now have returned to your homeland to run Facebook here. So tell us a little bit about your background and your career.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wido, and I'm the head of Facebook Indonesia. As all of you probably know, those who listened to the discussion earlier, I've only started in Facebook for about 7 weeks now. I started my career with Unilever Indonesia. It was almost 20 years ago. And I've actually been in marketing ever since. In 2005, basically, Unilever gave me the opportunity to expand my career into a regional position. I started moving to Thailand, and after 3 years in Thailand, I moved to Singapore. In 2010, I decided to take a 10 months break, basically, to sort of like rethink about what it is that I want to do. But my love for marketing sort of like draw me back and pulls me back into the corporate world. And that's when I joined L'Oreal for 4.5 years. About 7 months ago, Facebook asked if I would be interested in joining them. And the first thing I said to them is like, well, I'm not really thinking about going back to Indonesia. But at the same time, I think I see the vision that the company has and my vision of eventually being able to maybe help Indonesia be a little bit more open and connected. And I decided that I probably should just take the leap and move back to Jakarta and take on this role. If you talk about success, I think one of the things that I would say is defining that for me is also the fact that I am a mother of 2 teenage girls. My career wouldn't be the way it has been or the way it is without them. And it's an interesting, probably contradiction, because at the same time you're thinking as well, like, how did you do that, right? And I'm a single parent as well, by the way. But I think it is really what has fueled me into the places that I've been. It's what has been the driver in terms of me defining what is important for me and what is therefore important for my girls. So, really excited about coming back and looking forward to having a great discussion with all of you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And now on to Anthea, who obviously not originally from Indonesia, but now here working as the director of the World Food Programme for the United Nations. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and career in that sector?
Thank you. So yes, it's a very difficult question when people ask me where I'm from. I haven't quite figured that out. Just to say I was born in Sydney and then it gets complicated. But I studied journalism. I was educated originally by some very unusual women who happened to be Catholic nuns in the 70s and 80s in Australia. And there was never any question that the girls in my class would go on to have careers. It was just a given. And so all of us have in fact gone on to do some interesting stuff, perhaps not being quite as aware as we could have been about how difficult it would become once we left school. So I studied journalism, and for a series of coincidences or accidents, I found myself in a refugee camp on the Thai-Cambodia border, covering a story and doing a little bit of volunteer work, and got dragged into this non-profit sector, which consumed, if you like, what I did. So my task became not telling stories in newspapers, but telling stories to newspapers, and trying to raise attention for the work that we were doing. That took me around the world a few places, and I ended up in here, essentially, from Hong Kong to Rome to Kosovo to Beijing to New York to Jakarta. And each place has been extremely different and extremely challenging. The reason I'm very glad to be here is that it's such an important moment and such an important country to be setting the stage for this century, essentially, if you like, because I could have gone to Africa or Latin America or other places, but nowhere like Asia and Indonesia in particular do you get the sense that things are changing and moving in the right direction as fast as they are anywhere else in the world. And so one of the pleasant surprises is the role that women have here in achieving that change. And it really makes me very grateful to see the space for women to do that. At the same time acknowledging that there are still some issues that need to be addressed. So 1/5, 1 in 5 of your 18-year-old girls is already married. And that determines her future and what she's able to go on and do. So it's a very interesting moment where there are many women at the top of society and their careers who are achieving many things, but still some work to be done at the lower levels.
Great, thank you. So I wanted to pick up on that a little bit actually, because as we've gone around your backgrounds, obviously amongst you, you've clearly traveled abroad. Some of you have worked abroad, studied abroad. So you're in a position to really look at Indonesia and how it stands in the world, and its position in the world, and what it's like to be a woman in Indonesia versus elsewhere in the world. So I wanted to kind of pick up on some of the points you were making. How do you look at Indonesia in terms of what it's like to be a woman and how easy or difficult it is to succeed? What are the barriers here versus some other places in the world? Because I see it myself as an outsider as kind of a contradiction. So there are some of the challenges that you were talking about which are very evident and real. But then, you four are sat here as fantastically successful women, and there are plenty others in the room and outside the room too. If you look at the US now, they're potentially in the process of electing their first female president, but you've got a lot of very senior female politicians and have had for a long time, and you beat the US to that. So how do you see Indonesia stand versus other places in the world? We'll start with you, Zaza.
Yes. I see it in two ways. In the professional work, in the profession, say, if every different professions, either telco, banking, and others, women do have a good platform to succeed, but on the personal side, in a daily life, I see that a role of women in Indonesia, it still needs to be empowered. So it's like you said, from the top, it's like a lot of high-profile women, successful women, but the majority, if you go into the village, even in Jakarta, you go to the kampungs, and you see that most women are still trapped in the traditional obligations that they're born into. Yeah, so I guess that's again why we still have a Ministry of Women Empowerment, because a lot of women in India still needs to be educated well, so they can empower themselves and bring up girls,